All right, well, it's 3:31, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and everyone's had a chance to review the agenda. We didn't receive any addendums that I'm aware of. Can I have someone move the motion, please? Moved by Councillor B. Dunbar, seconded by Deputy Mayor Summers. Be it resolved that the Budget Committee approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none. We have our previous meeting minutes from June 29th. Can I have someone move that these minutes be adopted? Councillor J. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Wells. Be it resolved that the Budget Committee adopt the minutes of June 29th as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Is there any business council wishes to discuss from those meeting minutes? Councillor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor Hagman. Forgive me if I've forgotten, but 7.1, perhaps Mark could refresh my memory with regard to the Haynes Hawkins sewer line project, and 9.2 has work begun on the drainage at the landfill site.
And Mark, I'll give the floor over to you.
Mayor, yes, the Haynes Hawkins one we had discussed, it has been deferred until next year.
Okay.
Still waiting until we have the railway approval from the Huron Central, but apparently CP Rail has got to put their blessing on it as well. So the thought was to defer that, as it'd be too big of a rush to try and get complete this year. And the landfill drainage work has started. There's been some tree removal, and we are waiting for environmental compliance approval from the Ministry of Environment to complete the actual ditching and the sedimentation pond. Crescent has been in touch with them. They had a couple modifications to do to their submission, and they should hopefully be getting approval very shortly. I'm assured that there's still going to be time to complete the works left to finish that off this year.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Are there any other questions coming out of those June 29th meeting minutes? Seeing no other hands, moving on. We have no public presentations this afternoon, so for our administrative reports, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ben to take a look at our budget and budget discussions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One moment. So welcome everybody to the first of our budget committee meetings for 2022's budget for the town. I have made some changes to the presentation. If I can get the screen to advance, there we go. We're very briefly, and I'm not going to go into any great detail on these first few slides where we're reviewing projects and operating results in the grant applications. This is more just to remind you of where we are, all the projects that we've been working on in 2021, and where we're going. So I did reformat the project tracking sheet. Hopefully that's a little easier for everybody to read. I haven't had any feedback. If you have any other comments or questions or ideas to make it easier to read, please let me know. You do see this project tracking sheet regularly, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Again, it's just a reminder, these were all the projects that staff were working on in 2021. If you haven't seen the new fire truck yet, here it is. This is the new truck that we bought this year. The fire chief, Mr. Raymond, went down and picked that up last weekend. So it is back in town now, and I believe they are training on it for the next couple of weeks, and then it will go into service. But that's the first of our new fire trucks. I have included the summary report for operations to the end of August. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this other than to say that we are in very good shape at the end of August. Our revenues are looking really good. We are on track with both our water and our sewer revenues to budget this year. Our expenses are slightly below where we would expect them to be for the end of August. We are continuing to manage our any ongoing COVID-related issues. We will be presenting a formal third quarter report with September 31st results to council sometime in October. So you will get a more detailed look at the operating budget and where we're at for the end of September. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it here other than to let you know that we are on track. For our grants for 2021, I did have to update this because we now have our second grant that was denied. We just received that the other day. We were not successful with the, and it's escaped me now, it's the accessibility grant. So still, that's not too bad. We've only had 2 denials. We still have 6 that are in various stages of approval. So hopefully we are successful in more of those. But again, just an update on where we are with the grants. Any general questions? Like I said, I don't want to get into a whole lot of nitty-gritty detail on these. These are just to remind you of all of the things, all of the projects, all of the operations that your staff have been working on throughout 2021 and will continue to work on till the end of this year and moving into 2022. There's nothing. We will move on to 2022. So this meeting really is for us to present to council some of the areas where we think we're going to see budget pressures for next year. And we do have quite a few of those. Just review, we'll start with our assessment. We still have no confirmation as to when MPAC will be doing the next assessment update. So 2022's assessment will be continue to be based on evaluation dates, the same as 2020 and 2021. And they are continuing to update the assessment rules for new construction. So we have seen a little bit of growth so far in 2021. These are the numbers as of September 14th. It's not huge, $755,000, which works out to a 0.0023% increase in our assessment base as of the end of September or the middle of September. We should see some more by the end of the year, but we'll continue to monitor that as we move through the next few months before we get to December 31st. So we'll have a clearer idea of what our actual assessment base will be for the 2022 year. You can see we've had a little bit of an increase in our residential assessment, a bigger increase in our new commercial assessment, and a slight decrease in our industrial vacant land. So as I said, we will continue to monitor any changes in assessment that come in from MPAC between now and the end of the year. You've seen this chart before, just been updated for 2021, and you can see that it was very flat from 2020 to 21, just the change due to growth. These are the things that we already have budget commitments for 2022. I'm just going to do this so I can see what's going on here. So we have economic development. So the CIP grants for 2022 have been committed at $20,000. The year 1 of the repayments to the future projects reserved for that lovely new fire truck that we bought. So that will be part of the fire budget. We do have pre-budget approval for the new ladder truck. And we still have to determine what that final price is going to be and what the final financing options are going to be for that. So there will be further discussion on that moving forward. We do have the additional costs, the new contractor for the handy transit service. We will have the full year of our CBO contracted costs. I'm estimating that somewhere around $50,000, but again, that's going to depend on the volume of building projects that are going on. We also have the new communications tower has been pre-approved. We have pre-approved 1 per year for the new pedestrian crossovers. So 2022 will be year 2 of, and I have a question mark there because depending what happens, it may be 4 years, it may be 5 years before we get to the end of that project. We also have pre-budget approval for the niche expansion program and for our Bearwise trash can program. So to add to that number. And I've excluded the fire truck and the communications tower from this calculation simply because at this point, we don't know if there will be a tax levy funding component to either of those projects, but the rest of those items, those costs equate to approximately a 3% increase on the levy, or up to the tax rate, sorry, I should say. So that's what has been committed for 2022 so far. And just when Mr. Raymond was down, he managed to get, this is not obviously the truck that the town will get. This one belongs to the town of Woodstock, but here is what our new ladder truck could potentially look like. Some other items that we've heard come up over and over again that we will want to consider for 2022, and that is money for the boat launch at Boom Camp, new docks for Matnenda Landing, we have Shervon Park, and community days. This cost, the $30,000 is what we generally budget each year for community days, but that does not include staffing costs. That's simply for all the tent rentals, et cetera, that go along with community days. So those are some other items that we're considering for the 2022 budget based on other discussions that have been had around the table. And that's another 3.5% increase. Please speak up if you have questions. I can't see everybody on the screen, so if there's anything, please just speak out. As you are aware, we will be going into negotiations with CUPE for a new union agreement starting Jan 1, 2022. What that increase is going to look like, we don't know at this point. If you're looking at CPI, the most recent numbers for August, nationally, it's hovering around 4%. Ontario's numbers hovering closer to 5%. There will be the impact to benefits as well. So we do have that base increase of 3.32% that council did approve. But as salaries increase, benefits also increase because there are a number of components within the benefits that are based on 2 or 3 times annual salary. So as those salaries increase, those benefit numbers increase as well. So it might be slightly more than 3.32% when we get to the end of the day. Insurance, as you know, we've been seeing some crazy increases in insurance over the last couple of years. 2021's increase was 23%. I expect similar or higher for the 2022-2023 renewal period. We will be going to RFP for our insurance services, and we're hoping to get that RFP issued before the end of 2021. So we have plenty of time to review everything and make a decision. Our insurance renewal happens at close to the end of May. So we do have a number of months, but we do want to get a good head start on the RFP process. So that will be happening before Christmas. I don't know that it's going to make much difference. We will try, but as long as we are subject to joint and several liability, I can only see the rates increasing. Within the infrastructure, so water, obviously, the new drinking water source, council has identified this as a top priority for the town for 2022. We do have a cost estimate of approximately $8 million for this project. We have applied for a grant for 5 million of that. So we would still need to fund the balance of $3 million, but council should be prepared in the event that the grant is denied. We may need to fund the full $8 million. So I do have a recommendation here, and we would like a resolution that the budget committee direct me, the treasurer, to prepare a report for potential water and sewer levy to commence in 2022 to start to raise the balance of the funds required for this project. I don't know if I want to deal with that now, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Sue, that we can deal with that now. Could I have someone move the motion, please? I can't see everybody, so,
Yeah, let me just stop sharing for a second so you can.
okay, thank you. Mover? Deputy Mayor Summers, seconded by Councillor B. Dunbar. Be it resolved that the Budget Committee direct the treasurer to prepare a report for potential water and sewer levy to commence in 2022. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you.
So I will include in that various options for not just levy, but we'll probably talk about some potential funding opportunities as well for that project, but we will get working on that. Get my computer to start responding again. There we go. The next area,
Sue, may I ask a question?
certainly.
The recommendation for the levy on the water, if we were to impose a levy on the water users, would that improve our possibility of us receiving the grant funding? Does the province look for a levy?
If I could answer that question, Mayor Hagman, as part of our discussions with the province when we were at Roma, that was suggested that would be in our favor to have that. We have to show the province how we would fund the project that we're responsible for, the portion that we're responsible for. So yes, a water levy would be favorable for our $5 million grant.
So one more question, Sue, when you prepare your report, would you provide us with a figure if we have to raise the entire 8 million for the project as opposed to the 3 million? Would you give us numbers for a levy for both of those?
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely, that would definitely be included. We do have to be prepared to pay the full $8 million for this project because we can't guarantee the grant at this point. So yes, both funding for both the 8 and the 3 would be included in the report.
Thank you, Sue.
Next in infrastructure is the roads, our paved roads. And we talked about this as part of the 2021 budget deliberations. Our current funding level will not allow us to maintain PCI that we started off with in 2020. Our 2021 budget was only $500,000. At that funding level, the decrease in our PCI over the next 5 years brings it down to 65.12. The other thing that we are facing as far as roads projects is a lack of contractors bidding on the project. So we had one bid for our Woodward Ave project. It doesn't make for much competition or much scope for being creative with our projects. If we only have the one bid, that's really all we're stuck with. So we have to do that. Just a reminder, so this was from our 2021 budget deliberations, but just a reminder, to maintain our PCI rating, we would have had to spend almost 1.4 million in 2021, 1.3 in 22, and so on. You can see the average is $1.167 million per year on paved roads. That's not feasible, really, but that is the reality of our funding envelopes. So our PCI will necessarily take a hit. For the facilities, based on the TELUC facilities review, staff have been and will continue to address the issues that were identified by TELUC in each of those building reviews. Some of those projects may flow through capital, some of them may flow through the operating budget, but they will be addressed continue to be addressed within the 2022 budget and beyond. So within the capital budget, you may also see some items that move into within the 5-year forecast. Obviously, we can't address everything all in 1 year, so we will work to spread those projects out over the next 5 years. So staff have started to put together their operating and capital budget wish lists for 2022 based on the user fee study that was just presented to council at the last meeting. We will be working on a user fee policy to go along with our 2022 user fees to give us some direction as to where those fees should be going. The next committee meeting is scheduled for October 26th. And that is for council to, I'm just going to go back to these lists, look at what council's priorities are for 2022. If some of these items are no longer a priority, if there are new items that need to be added to the priority list, that is the next meeting. I will also be providing to council a copy of the council operating budget for you to review the council operating budget for 2022. That is the end of my presentation, Madam Mayor. So I don't know if anybody has any questions that have not already been raised about anything that was in there.
Does council have any questions for Sue at this time?
Or comments or other things that you would like us to consider before the next meeting?
I have one, Sue. And I don't know if I misheard you or to bring it up about the future considerations for 2022. You said we were going to touch on that next meeting. Basically, what all I had was maybe Ms. Scott can answer it. These trash cans, these bear-proof trash cans, we seem to have quite a few of them. Are they a necessity, or are we buying these now in case of having to put them out somewhere else? Like, how many do we have of these bear-proof trash cans? Do we have them all out in the field?
So there was a report provided to council in 2020, I believe, in which I indicated the number of cans that we were going to need in our supply for the demands that we were receiving that year. We were receiving numerous calls from the public, from members of council, that we needed cans in different areas. So we had it, I believe it was a 3-year strategy. So last year, this year, and then next year would be our last round of trash cans for the community. So we're trying to replace all of the current open bins that we have with the Bearwise.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Katie.
Are there any other questions for Sue? Seeing none, we can move on to committee reports. And prior to doing that, thank you, Sue, for your presentation. And it's an extensive list, that's for sure. And we know that money doesn't grow on trees, so we will be doing due diligence and trying to keep within those parameters for sure. So from the Director of Facilities and Community Services, we have a report on the CIP process. Karen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report, June or July, my goodness, feels like last year. We went through the project successes as a committee and wanted to firm up the following years so we could create consistency, continuity in the program and also not lose the momentum that we're building as a municipality. We have had wonderful intake. We have applications coming in for next year projects already, which is phenomenal. And after speaking to our CAO from other meetings with our neighboring municipalities of similar size, a win for them is 3 submissions overall. So when Blind River is bringing in over a dozen, it is pretty incredible stuff. So what we discussed as a community is proposing a total to council. So we would have a pre-budget amount, which would allow us to plan, also continue to hit the ground running as we open the program up to every business in Blind River next year. We'd like to make sure we have the appropriate material, know what our budget is, be able to have these conversations with folks, and then also not overpromise and underdeliver as a municipality. So we know if we receive a huge amount of applications that are quite costly, that we are going to have to let people know that it is first come, first serve. Get your applications in a timely fashion. And when the money's out, having that discussion that your application may have to be postponed to the next year or coming back to council.
Karen, when do people have to have their application in for 2022?
There is no set date. So the way we're doing this to make sure we're working with our merchants is they come in on a as needed and first come, first serve basis.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then the review period takes place when?
The review period is ongoing.
Okay,
So we don't make our merchants and our business owners wait. As
Yep.
soon as an application comes in, it's reviewed by staff internally for all of the processes that we've discussed with council. And then if there are any out of the ordinary circumstances, the counselors that are on that committee can attest that we actually bring it forward to the committee for reflection and comment. And
Yep.
then we proceed with the approval in whatever fashion the committee is comfortable with after that.
okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councillor Dunbar.
Thank you. Karen, have we had to refuse any number of these projects, we'll call them, due to lack of funding?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dunbar, at this time, no, thank goodness.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on this report or on the spreadsheet? Seeing none. would
Councillor
you-
Wells,
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
I have my
Councillor.
hand up too,
Sorry,
and I
sorry.
did too.
I just refreshed my e-scribe. Go ahead, Councillor Wells, followed by Deputy Mayor Summers.
Thank you, Mayor Hagman. I see we need a mover in a second. I'd like to move this motion. And if my memory serves me correctly, I did suggest that this be looked at as a 5-year plan to provide more continuity for the project, for the program. And maybe our Director of Facilities can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we allocate $30,000 and if the money's not all used in 1 year, it would be held, we move forward to the next year, if I'm not mistaken, so the money would be there. But I've had a lot of people speak to me about the improvements that have taken place in town as a result of this funding. And I think we should continue with it.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Summers, followed by Councillor Jay Dunbar.
Okay, so my question is, so some of this is highlighted in yellow. Do we know why that is? Like,
Through you, Madam Mayor.
I'm not
to
quite
Deputy Mayor. Oh, through you,
Pardon?
Madam Mayor. That is just the working copy internally for staff. That
Okay.
report's quite old. It's just as we have projects open, it's an indicator for us, so I can keep going back instead of, because sometimes the addresses get a little mixed up with downtown, but
Okay, so because in the approved amount for, like, say, for instance, 12 Woodward or 11 Haynes, like there's nothing in there. So does that mean they haven't been approved yet, or it's coming, or I'm not quite sure.
sure. So through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Summers. At that point, some of those applications have been suspended at the request of the applicant, either due to lack of availability for contractors, or if the
Oh.
pandemic has affected them. So at that point, if we had an approved application, out of actually kindness, and this is one of the benefits to a small town, is the owners have reached out for whatever reason to say, you know what, I'm going to postpone this for another year and I'll reapply, and I'm going to hope the funding is still there for me. So then that releases the pocket of funds to another applicant if we get somebody else in the year. So that's an example of how great our merchants are receiving this, that they're coming forward, that they may not be able to receive, or pardon me, complete a project on time, or they have to postpone it for whatever reason.
Okay. And just a little housekeeping thing here, Karen, for 18B Woodward. I believe the total cost that you have written down for the signage and lighting is incorrect, since the approved amount is more than the actual cost. So I'm thinking there's a, it looks like we fund 50%, is that correct?
Up to
Is that usually what we
50%, depending on the stream.
Okay.
So what that one might be, and I can't pull it up in front of me, sorry, while I'm in the presentation. Either it could
Okay.
be the total of all of the grants under that property that were applied for, but I don't want to speak to it without having it up in front of me. But what I can assure you is that the variance report that Ms. Dent would have for our payables and the eligible amount are accurate, because we have to go through all of that as a committee before anything's paid out.
Okay, if you have a look, I think it's just missing a number, maybe been just a typing error, but anyways, okay, thank you.
Counselor Jay Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All I wanted to do was to tag on to this here and be the seconder of the motion coming forward.
Great. I will read the motion now. Moved by Counselor Wells, seconded by Counselor Jay Dunbar, whereas the town of Blind River supports investment in local businesses, owners and operators within the town of Blind River. Therefore, be it resolved that the Budget Committee recommends to Council that option A be accepted and earmark $30,000 towards the continuation of the community improvement plan in 2023, and that the plan be amended to a 5-year plan extending to 2027 with the commitment of $30,000 annually for the next 5 years, as recommended by the Community Improvement Committee. Discussion. Counselor Jay Dunbar.
I just want, I know I seconded, I'd just like to know, as a counselor, if I'm approached, Madam Mayor, as to a specific project that has gone unfinished. Maybe I see, like, I'm not too sure on which ones were and which ones weren't, but I mean, one comes to mind and it's a paint job, but I'm just wondering if we'll be able to be provided some sort of information on this, Karen. I'm not saying operational, but I mean, like, someone's asked me why they haven't finished a certain job, and we're giving these people money. And I just, do you know what I'm trying to say here? Like,
So through you, Madam Mayor, I'm going to try and answer that based on what
Okay.
I think you're asking. And
Okay,
just
good.
correct me if I'm in left field. So to clarify with all the members of council, and I apologize, the committee members have heard me spew this off a bunch of times, no one gets reimbursed until the project is completed fully, has been assessed by municipal employees, and that depends on the application type. For instance, I can go and inspect and ensure paint, signage, and those elements are completed. If it's anything structural that requires our engineer or our building inspector, pardon me, to head in and take a peek, the reimbursement doesn't occur until that process has occurred. So if any midway projects, midpoint projects, that person has started an undertaking, maybe paying bills, but the municipality has not compensated them for that work until it is complete as the application was designed. So there isn't even the ability to kind of amend halfway through and say, oh, I didn't want to go that far. I'm only painting 3 out of 4 walls. It has to be done in entirety.
thank you very much, Karen. You answered it in the first sentence.
Are there any other questions before we ask for a vote? Deputy Mayor Summers.
Just a comment, just want to say how things are looking pretty nice down there. All the work that's been done, we can certainly see what's been done and it looks really nice. Just wanted to just commend you on that. Thank you.
And I echo those commendments because especially the stop signs, I think people are really taking notice of when to stop because of that little bit of enforcement around the The stop sign itself, it might be a metal enforcement, but it will also work another way too. So very, very, very nice, as there are the street signs in the downtown area. We're looking good, Blind River. So on that note, all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We have no correspondence today, and I didn't see anything under the addendum. So I am asking council for a mover and a seconder for adjournment. We have Councillor B. Dunbar and Councillor J. Dunbar. Be it resolved that the budget meeting adjourn. All in favor? Always in favor. Thanks, everyone.